going from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the panelists real quickly just to introduce themselves, and we'll start with the NEC staff. Dr. Perkins.
I think I'm unmuted. Yes, am I unmuted?
You are.
Okay,
There you
good.
go.
Thank you. I'm Michelle Perkins, president of NEC, and happy to be here this evening along with Wayne Lesference, who will introduce himself shortly. I think everyone knows we've done a lot of preparation for our students coming back, which will start happening next week. And we are expecting fewer students than we did last year, which in some ways is a good thing because we have greater opportunity to spread them out and to do even more distancing than we would normally. So that's good. You may have read our website where you can see all the preparations we've done on so many levels. We could talk about that for about an hour. But our goal is to ensure the safety of our students, faculty, staff, community, the town, the whole environment. And even though there's a great deal of unknown with the virus still in place going forward, we feel that we're in a pretty good place and that we are going to have a successful start to the fall semester. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague.
Thanks, Michelle. So my name is Wayne Lesference. I'm a resident here in Henniker. I'm the Vice President of Academic Affairs at the college. I also oversee our Student Affairs division as well. Just to highlight what the President said, certainly would encourage you all to go to our website, www.nec.edu. Our fall plans are there. Those get updated regularly as we add new processes or procedures or new items. They're there. I've also shared those, the link to that with Joe, who I believe shared that with the selectmen, and certainly anybody who would like to see them. They're there for you to review. Our charge at the beginning of this process from the President was to continue to offer the education that we do in as safe a way as possible. And that has guided our work throughout the planning over the end of the spring and the summer as we prepared for our students to arrive early next week. And so that's been what's guided us. I hope when you review the documents there and the processes that we've undertaken, I hope you'll agree with us that in these extraordinary times, we're certainly doing everything we can to make sure that we keep our community safe, the community of New England College, and the community, which is the town of Henniker. So that's what's guided us. Certainly happy to take any questions you have or to talk about the processes and plans. And I know the President is more than happy to do so as well.
So I'd like to just open this up just to the board of selectmen. So I'll start with Chairman Chris Wambach. I don't know if you have any things you want to address or any questions or anything.
Nope. This is the second meeting that I'll be attending with the NEC group. Pilgrim Pledge and various aspects that they're taking for campus safety I've been very impressed with, and I wish them luck in their endeavor. I have nothing else to
add. Vice Chair Hooper.
Just so for people who might be new to this meeting, I've been able to watch the recording of it. But Wayne, can you or Michelle give us like a quick overview of what you're going to be doing for those students that are coming in within their first few weeks to ensure that they're being tested or quarantined?
Michelle, would you like to speak to that?
Hold on.
Unmute. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Well, we are doing the first 2 weeks are going to be very important for students arriving on campus. Everyone is required to be tested before they arrive, and then we are testing everyone after they arrive. And we have a number of other measures in place, including a smart thermometer, which will be distributed to everybody as they arrive on campus. The list goes on. Those first 2 weeks, though, are very important. And so, Wayne, can you speak to that?
We got to get used to Joe unmuting us. So as the President said, we are requiring students to test in advance. We will test them. We have a partnership with Convenient MD. They will be on our campus over the course of next week, and every student, any person who wants to be on our campus has to be tested before they can start classes. So as students arrive, they will all be tested through Convenient MD on our campus. The first 2 weeks of classes will be in remote as we wait for anything that we may not have caught by a test to materialize. Certainly, we want to wait till we get all test results in. Depending on the testing lab you get, these tests can be turned around in as quickly as 2 days, but they can take as long as 10 days. So none of our students will be in classes with faculty staff for the first 2 weeks until and unless we have negative test results from those students. We're basically going to be encouraging, we're going to be having a quarantine on our campus so that the students are not going to be having large gatherings, large events. For those first 2 weeks and beyond, actually, there'll be no major activities that draws them all together. So we want to limit their activity and their mobility. All the meals in the dining hall will be quote unquote grab and go. So they will not be eating in the dining hall for the first 2 weeks. The activities they will have available to them through our staff will all be virtual. So from our point of view, it's test everyone before they arrive, test everyone when they arrive, wait 2 weeks before we put them into classes, limit what they do while they're here for those first 2 weeks to make sure that we can contain the spread. Michelle made the point about every student having a thermometer. Every student will take their temperature and will have to show a green check mark on a smartphone app that they get from us before they're allowed to enter any buildings. So we are doing everything we can to make sure that we have a clean, let's call it, start to the semester without any incidents of the virus being brought in. If anybody tests positive, they have to go home. If the student lives more than 3 hours away, we will quarantine them in quarantine spaces on campus until such time as they can make arrangements to get home. But they will be moving off campus. If a student required medical care, we would make sure they got that medical care. We have a wellness center on campus, but if it's more than what that wellness center would normally handle, we would transition them to medical facilities in Concord or Manchester, depending on which campus it took place on. So that's a quick overview. And all of this is covered in great detail in that document on the website. But that's a good overview, I think, of our initial steps with our students. The only other thing I would add is we are testing our students every 2 weeks after. It could be even more frequent than that. We're working with our partner to increase the frequency of that testing. But we are going to test our students on a regular basis because we want to get ahead of any potential outbreak, God forbid, but any potential outbreak that may arise. We want to do that testing to make sure that we're ahead of it before it becomes a major problem. We have relationship with Chief French. We've spoken with Seth Costello and the chief of the fire department to make sure that we're all on the same page and we can support one another. And I think that those are all I would say in very good standing. We've enjoyed an excellent relationship with Chief French and the HPD. And I know President Perkins and I place a premium on that relationship. So that's going to continue as far as we're concerned.
And Wayne, will the procedure be similar for those students who are not living directly on campus, but might be in local community apartments?
Yes, so there is an off-campus population. All those students have to be tested before they can come on campus. So again, tested before they arrive. They will have to check in on campus, and at that time, they will take a Convenient MD test as well. All the other procedures I've described to you will apply to them. I think, the challenge we have is that while we will have this Pilgrim's Promise in place, which includes for us students wearing masks at all times that they are in public, whether they are on campus or off campus, our enforcement ability of that off campus is a challenge. So I know I was part of a conversation last night where there was some discussion of a town ordinance on masks. I would say that I 100% support that because that would continue the work that we are doing. On our campus, it's necessary and it is scientifically proven to reduce COVID-19 spread. I would strongly urge the members of the board to please consider that. That said, we will have our own policies about enforcement around that. This is where communication with folks like the chief are important. If he finds a party someplace off campus, and now I know college kids don't have parties, but let's just say he finds a party and there are students there that are behaving in disrespect our policies with regard to social distancing, numbers of students gathering, and wearing a mask. Our hope is he will provide those names to us and we will act accordingly. Those students will forfeit their ability to be on our campus There is no refund for those students. So the stakes for them are very high. We're taking this very seriously.
Thank you, Wayne. That's all I have, Joe.
Let's see, Selectman Flynn, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
No, I actually echo Chris's comments, and that's pretty much all I have to say at this time. Thank you.
Selectman Parker?
I would just encourage everybody to go to the website. I'm assuming the document you circulated to us yesterday is there, and it goes into more detail than Wayne just did about the process and procedures, but I thought it was very well presented.
And I did share that in the chat, so if people are looking for it, they can find it right now.
Okay.
So, and then Selectman Osgood. You unmuted? Maybe.
I'm asking him to unmute.
All right, while we're waiting for Scott, I do have some questions that are starting to come in. The first one is, I'm just going to read it verbatim. My biggest concern, you are speaking of on campus. So if they're not in class and then they're down in the town without supervision or guidance on how they act, how are you going to be handling that? I've already met students who have moved into apartments and are not wearing masks.
So there are certainly students that are going to be living throughout town, and I think that the challenge that we have is that we have no enforcement power off our campus. We rely on that partnership with the chief, but the chief isn't going to be driving around all day, I don't think, telling kids to put their masks on. And our police officers, they've got other things to be doing. I think that's a challenge that we have. We are being very clear with our students what the consequences are if we do find out about that behavior. We're being very clear about our approach to this and our processes. But yes, these are students that are coming back to campus, and when they have downtime, they're going to want to go off campus. They're going to want to toss a ball around. They're going to want to go hike on the trails and go down to the river and all the other things that they traditionally do. And we will continue to inform them as part of a public health education campaign we have ongoing about the appropriate way to manage COVID-19. But like so many of our own townspeople, I see folks walking up and down my road all the time. They're just taking walks. Our kids are going to do that as well.
Great. Chief French, do you have anything you want to add?
I don't. I just want to make sure that everyone understands we have a great working relationship between the PD and the college right now. And we're going to continue that in good information sharing and back and forth just to keep this going.
Thanks, Chief. And then a follow-up to that, Wayne, what the guidance you're giving them, I've read the Pilgrim Promise and we don't see anything in there. So they're looking for what actual guidance is being given to the students.
You've read it. There's nothing there. That's interesting. It's on the website. I'll make sure. In fact, you know what I'll do after this call? I'll send it to you, Joe, and maybe you can post it on the town website. But
Be happy to.
Basically, the students commit to all of the guidelines that we provide with regard to proper COVID-19. So the Pilgrim's Promise is an amendment to the Student Code of Conduct. The Student Code of Conduct is the tool we have to make sure that students engage in proper behavior on campus and in their classes and in their lives. It covers just about everything. We've added the COVID-19 processes or procedures, which include making sure that they are wearing their masks at all time while in public, that they maintain 6 feet of social distancing, that they not gather in groups larger than 10 students, that it gives guidelines on what they can do in their residence halls, what they can do in classrooms and other places along these same lines. It also says that they are held accountable for this behavior, whether they are on campus or off campus. So if they violate it while in town, that they are subject to being punished for that. It talks about our student code, our student conduct staff and the relationship that they will have with them should there be any incidents of violation. It's all laid out there. I'm surprised to hear that it's not you can't see it, but we'll fix that for sure. I don't know, Michelle, if you want to add to that in terms of from the college's perspective on student behavior.
Yes. Although we cannot control 100% of our students or any member of our community, we've made it very clear, and the students understand that more than any other year, if you violate our terms and our policies, there will be immediate and serious consequences. And out of kindness to the students, I mean, the worst thing that can happen to you is you get to go home and study remotely from home as you did spring semester. But as Wayne also mentioned, I think, just to be realistic, I was in the market today, I would say fewer than half the people were wearing masks. I was surprised. You know, there's varying opinions about that. I would support, as Wayne has mentioned and others have mentioned, a mask policy. There's only so much one can do about that, but it's really not that odious. We all wear seatbelts. It would be wonderful if we could all abide by that, because as far as we know, as far as the science indicates, that's the best way to prevent COVID. And so we all sign up for that. That would be great.
Thank you. I have a question coming from Facebook. Any procedures or protocols for move-in day? Are there communications to the family who's dropping off their kids from other states outlining any mask requirements while dropping off and minimizing outside people from coming into town?
Sure. Michelle, do you want to do this or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, sorry, I keep unmuting, it's difficult. We have very specific details, and we have a staggered move-in, and it's very, very rigid and scheduled, designed so that there is minimal contact among a large group, that we keep it very small. And Wayne, you want to talk about the schedule?
Sure. The students will be moving in over the entirety of next week. And so we've spread it out. Every student and family has to make an appointment. So we will never have more than 50 students in a block at a time. That's a goal. The goal of that is to keep people spread out. We've spread out the move-in process really over our campus. So in the past, we would do move-in basically over a day. We're spreading that out to over a week, and we're spreading out the appointment process. Folks cannot all arrive at the same time. As part of that process, all the students will get tested. Families are not allowed into the residence hall, so they will drop off, and we have a group of folks that will actually do the physical labor of moving all of the students' materials into the room. Those are folks that have all been tested. Those are folks that are all practicing social distancing and wearing a mask. Nobody who comes onto our campus during the move-in period will be allowed to walk around our campus without a mask on. We will be providing that. Every student will be getting an official NEC branded mask. We're very excited about that. It's going to be hot. You should get yours now. We've got all kinds of other things, whether other PPE equipment that's available in case it's needed. So, you know, we're wiping down elevators after every use. We're making sure bathrooms are cleaned on a regular basis, multiple times each day. So I think that I can't simply say that we've done any one thing. We've done probably 36 things that are different because of COVID, because we want to have an abundance of safety. Again, I keep going back. My charge from my boss was do this as safely as we can possibly do it. And our team has taken that very seriously.
Great. So I have a question about Parents Weekend. Will it be taking place as usual, or are there any modifications occurring to that?
No, we have canceled that. We canceled Alumni Weekend. I'm not muted, am I? Good.
No.
We were going to have a commencement ceremony for the class of 2020. Sadly, that's not going to happen. Basically, large gatherings are not advisable, and as long as COVID persists, you're not going to see gatherings of more than 25, 30 people, and that will be spaced. So really, you can't have Alumni Weekend or Family Weekend or anything where you have hundreds of people. Just can't happen.
So we have a question. Are you requiring students to sign any documents that release NEC from liability for illness or injury resulting in the contracting of COVID-19? If you are, what percentage have not signed, and what are the reasons students are giving for not signing the response?
Wayne, I don't know if we decided the exact specifics of that, but we're having a document that people read before they pass through to other levels of registration and move-in that says they understand that they take on some degree of risk. Quite frankly, you can't really give people a 19-page document. It's not going to work until we have legislation regarding legal liability. which may be in the works, is in the works. That is probably the most prudent approach to take at this point.
Right. Yeah, I would only add that our approach has been that students have the option of staying remote. So a decision to come to campus is a decision to come to campus, accepting the possibility that one could get sick as a result of that choice. Certainly, we acknowledge that with them, and we talk to them about that as they make their choices. And so when they arrive, they receive a document that basically outlines that they, by their decision to attend campus face-to-face, they've accepted this, the challenges that may come as a result of that choice. And I would say that as of this weekend, actually Monday, we have about 83% of our students that want to come back. And just knowing what they know, they want to be back. So I think we are pleasantly surprised by the high rate of return that we're seeing, which is rather historic, in fact, compared to recent years.
So I have a couple questions that came in over email in reference to people coming from hot zones. Are you handling that any differently as they're coming onto campus?
Well, we're handling it in the sense that everybody's being tested. Everybody's being treated as if they could have it, and we want to rule out that whether they have it or not. And so, as I said earlier, if you test everybody that arrives, you would make them submit their test results prior to their arrival, and those tests had to be taken no earlier than August the 1st. So it's relatively recent. So we have test results from August 1st or later. We will have test results from when they arrive. Our approach then is we treat everybody as if they have the potential for having been exposed, and we're going to rule out COVID through testing twice in terms of these students. I think that's as aggressive as an approach as you can take.
And we have a question in reference to the testing. Do you know what the turnaround time from Convenient MD is going to be for your test results?
Yes, Convenient MD has told us that we will have our tests back in 2 to 5 days. The testing lab that has had the most difficulty is Quest Lab, and their tests are taking about 10 days to turn around. Convenient MD does not use Quest Lab; they use a different lab. And thus far, our experience with them has been that we've been getting results in 2 to 4 days.
And as you know, in addition to that, our students are all being given smart thermometers. They're cute little plastic gizmos with a round circle at the end. And they have there's an application you can put on your smartphone. And we're requiring students, faculty, staff, administrators, everyone to take the temperature twice a day, feeds back into a database. It's anonymous. But if you have an elevated temperature, it will tell you to go to the health center immediately. And if there are clusters of elevated temperatures, we will know, and we will be able to react in real time to that. So even though the best testing takes several days, we have a real-time indicator, which is temperature testing. Even though not everyone who's positive exhibits a temperature, that is the most common symptom. So we feel that to some degree it's belt and suspenders. We are doing real-time observation, and we're requiring testing of everyone.
Michelle, Joe, just a quick question. I just want to follow up on what Michelle said. For the app that's going to be anonymously taking these temperatures, are you going to be able to identify if students are in a certain dorm to reduce potential exposure to those units?
Yes, it'll give us, a but if that happens, and we'll know, for instance, Colby dorm, you need to look at it. It won't have names. It won't identify specifically to the student or the person, staff or faculty. When you take your temperature, if you are elevated, the little dial shows up red. It says go to the health center immediately. Please have yourself checked. So it's good not only for us, but quite frankly, for me, for anyone. If I take my temperature and it says you need to go to the health center, you need to go get yourself checked out, that's a really good thing to have.
So we have a question talking about the population coming back to the school. Do you have a percentage that is coming from the New York, New Jersey region?
I don't know the exact number. It's usually about 5%, I guess. I think it's lower this year, quite frankly. More people, in this year's incoming class, we have more people from New Hampshire and New England. we have fewer people from New York, New Jersey, or farther away. I think, quite frankly, people are just not wanting to make the trip. They're thinking about taking a semester off, possibly. Our retention numbers are up across the board, and I believe they're up over all areas. So we're not seeing erosion from specific states.
Wayne, can you talk a little bit about the schedule on classes and how it's maybe condensed and things like that?
Sure. So what we did was we took our academic schedule. All classes now will meet for no more than 1 hour per week. The rest of their face-to-face, the rest of their meeting will happen remotely or synchronously via Zoom and Blackboard. So that limits the amount of time students are spending in classrooms with their faculty and with their classmates. For studio labs and for science labs, more classes that require longer setups or applied learning, there is a 2-hour block for them. Beyond that, all classrooms have 30 minutes of downtime between each class so they can be cleaned and sanitized. We've spread our day out longer over the course of the day to create more space between classes. And I guess what I would also add is that our classes are limited to 10 students. Our faculty will have, everybody in the classroom will have masks. The faculty will have the responsibility of treating a student that comes into the classroom without a mask or refuses to keep a mask on, or even wear it properly. That's as a disruptive case, and that student will be instructed they have to put that mask on, or they have to leave, and then they will have a student conduct problem. So we're taking very seriously the teaching and learning that we've got planned and organized it in a way that really is as safe as you can possibly be.
And can you talk a little bit about your schedule too?
Say that again, Joe?
Can you talk a little bit about your schedule as far as when breaks are and things like that?
Yes. So the academic schedule that I proposed to the president basically starts us on time on the 24th of August, has us end on November the 22nd, so before Thanksgiving. That shortens our term by about 2 weeks. We eliminated the fall break, which is a time that kids typically go away. They will now remain on campus. So we are limiting their ability to travel away outside of the state. And no student is allowed to leave the state without permission from our Dean of Students. So we are restricting their ability to travel. We've communicated this up front, made sure they were aware of it. The spring semester will start on February the 1st. So it's a later start. Again, we're trying to get away from the brunt of cold and flu season, which folks are telling us could be another time of significant increase. And then our semester will end at the regular time on May the 8th. And we hope, after we've all been vaccinated, we'll be able to have a really great commencement.
Wayne, I just have a quick question on the student retention piece and engagement. That first year is critical for that retention piece. How are you going to, or how is the institution going to be engaging those students while they're on campus so they're not looking elsewhere for those random activities or gatherings?
So we have retained our student engagement office. We certainly have a lot of fun activities for them to participate in. We're going to make liberal use of Zoom to have a variety of speakers, performers, all sorts of things. In fact, we have a performance coming up from our theater company completely via Zoom, which is great. I think Michelle and I both cannot wait to actually get in and see a performance in the Putnam Center. But until we are able to do that, we will make use of Zoom. And I know our theater faculty have a really fantastic reading planned. That sort of thing, and student clubs and organizations are going to be active. They're going to be doing a lot virtually. They're going to be doing a lot in smaller groups. But we recognize that if we don't keep our students busy, they will find other things to do. And we'd like to keep them busy on our campus. So we're working in earnest to make sure there's plenty of distraction and fun and I think intellectually and culturally enriching opportunities for them while they're on our campus. But Tia, it's a great point, a great observation. My mom used to say idle hands are the devil's plaything. We're real keen on not letting there be much time for idleness.
Thanks, Wayne.
I would just like to add too, and it's a blessing, it truly is, that we have this beautiful outdoor environment. So many schools are in places where everything that takes place is pretty much in an internal space. So we are encouraging and planning and hoping for our students to really take advantage of the outdoor space. And you couldn't have a more beautiful place to do that. And so even though we won't be able to do big gatherings and big plays and big sports events like we've done in the past, there are plenty of very attractive alternatives.
So there's a question about campus security. Are you planning on hiring more if problems escalate? And how many people are on campus security? I would like to know.
Well, yes, of course we would. We have a pretty robust staff. I don't even know the head count, 5, 6, 7 people. Not everyone is full-time. We have some in Manchester as well. I know we may have more than that because there's quite a number of part-time people. As you can imagine, having 24/7 campus safety surveillance. We have a really good director of campus safety, and we're completely confident that everything will be managed well. And as the chief has said, and I really, really value this, we have such a great relationship with the Henniker PD. It's a blessing to have because everyone's safety, the campus safety, or student safety, the town safety is our first priority.
Great. And there's a follow-up that if townspeople have a complaint about student activities and violations, should they be calling campus security or the town police?
Well, I would suggest they call us. It depends on the severity of the complaint, I suppose.
But I would also, and I don't know if Matt agrees, but it also depends on the location of
Yes.
what activity, where it's taking place. If it's not taking place directly on the New England College campus, Henniker Police Department should be called.
Let's see, I know sports have been canceled for the fall. Are teams still allowed to practice for this fall or for winter sports coming up? Is that the school's call or the conference's call?
The conference, the New England College Conference, and I am a member of the board of that conference, obviously as a president. We made the decision to cancel the fall season a few weeks ago. So no, we don't have conference play. We are considering the possibility of play for some of our teams with other colleges in the state if that opportunity arises. Nothing's been scheduled yet because we're kind of in a wait and see mode. Of course, the NCAA has some very specific requirements about any play and testing that must occur before any play, no matter what, if it's non-conference play. It's pretty rigid, and I support that. We will be having team practice, obviously in a very different way, a way that's spaced out, in a way that's controlled, and to keep our athletes busy. And we'll engage them in other fitness opportunities that will satisfy their need to be athletic and engage with their teammates. Thing that is good to know is that because there's no season, there will be another season of eligibility. So students who want to stay another semester can do a graduate program, for instance, and they will have another eligibility for that fall semester to play on their teams.
Just on that previous one, Chief French wanted to chime in, and he just texted me to remind people that they should be calling for criminal activity, not NEC policy violations for the police department. So I just wanted to put that out there to everybody. There's a question here for the select board. What is preventing the select board from instituting a mask ordinance?
Well, last night it was a 2-3 vote. Scott Osgood and myself were for a mask ordinance. Other members, Liam Parker, Chris Blombeck, and Peter Flynn voted against. However, it does not mean that we could bring this up again for another vote and have them change their minds.
And T, if you want to follow up, they're asking some questions. I know you were kind of involved in what the thought of the ordinance is going to be. So what's it actually going to encompass?
So the thought of the ordinance is that it would apply to strictly the downtown area, which is our highly dense and populated area, where you have a lot of businesses. Also, you have the college students. It flows nicely into what the college is also implementing with their students for requiring for them to wear masks, since they do have office space, and such as the alumni office and the administration building, student financial services, all up in that Main Street area. So to have that mask ordinance, it would allow those students, and it would be cohesive with what the college is trying to do, and requiring to have those masks in those highly populated or densely populated areas, going into a pizza shop, restaurants, where some of that's already required, it would help.
So I have a question coming in reference to PPE for the college. What is NEC's current assessment of the PPE stock? Has their wellness center been able to stockpile and receive sufficient amount of supplies?
Yes, we just took receipt of 1,500 pounds of PPE equipment that came from the state. That's our second shipment of PPE that we've taken over the summer. We are in mostly pretty good shape. There are some things that we are looking to supplement our stockpile with. Interestingly, gloves have been, large and extra large size gloves have been hard to get. N95 masks are always hard to get, but we have some. We're trying to get some more. But other than that, we have the masks, we have the face shields, we have the gowns, and other PPE equipment is coming. We have more thermometers than, we're going to have one heck of a thermometer party at some point. We've got an awful lot of thermometers, but that's all been coming in, and so I think we've done a pretty good job there.
I see Selectman Osgood has his hand up. Scott, do you want to say something?
Oh, he's on mute. Hold on. Scott, you're on mute.
There you go.
Oh. Can you hear him, Joe?
I cannot. He's unmuted.
Scott,
Maybe,
we're unable to hear you.
maybe his volume's turned down.
Nothing. All right. He's giving me a sign. All right. Is there anything the town can do to support NEC in keeping everyone safe?
Well, I'll start, Michelle, and maybe if you want to jump in. At the risk of being accused of being political, I would again urge you to reconsider on the mask ordinance, even if it's tightly drawn in and around the area where the students are most likely to frequent. Our students live in a residential hall above Sonny's Pizza. They will walk down Main Street, across the bridge, across campus. They will play on the sports fields, across the covered bridge. They will play on the sports fields that are down the road on the way to Dunkin' Donuts. They're around, and we want to make sure we do everything we can to create as safe an environment as we can. This would go a long way to helping, I believe, and I would encourage some thoughts on that. Certainly, if you're seeing things that don't look right to you, non-criminal things, but things that you believe would violate the ordinance, please reach out to our campus safety office and let them know, and they will send an officer over to make sure that students are not engaged in activities they shouldn't be engaged in. And so I'll ask Joe to give out that number, and I'll post it here in the chat in just a second. But those are the things that we would want to know, and we certainly want to work with you. My information is available on the website. If you have thoughts or concerns or questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I've been talking to a number of neighbors throughout the summer and sharing our updates on a regular basis. I'm happy to keep doing that. And I think that's what comes to mind for me. Michelle, I don't know if you have other thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Just to follow up on that, I support a mask ordinance as well. I know there's a lot of emotion about this these days, but I guess my feeling is it sure can't hurt. And until there's a vaccine, I think it's simply prudent. As I like to say to my friends and family, you don't know who's going to walk by you with stage 4 cancer, and why risk it for 1 second? Let's just do this until there's a vaccine. There will be soon. I think also it sets an example for our students. They are young people. And if everyone's wearing a mask, they will feel more pressure and obligation and responsibility to do that as well. It's wonderful that New Hampshire has so few cases. of COVID-19, especially when you consider what's going on in Florida and Texas right now and other states. But I think being preventive is the best approach. And we should try and keep it that way. Keep New Hampshire safe, keep Henniker safe, so that we can continue to enjoy, even though we're all impacted by COVID. We all know people who have had COVID. I don't know anyone in the state who has, but I know people in out-of-state places. We have something really special here by being safe, and we should keep it that way.
Do you have any faculty members who have decided they must provide remote instruction to protect their own health?
Well,
Yes.
the answer is yes. It's a bit of a mixed question. About 10 faculty have applied to be exempt from teaching face-to-face. I'd say at least 4 of those faculty took that decision because the school districts that their kids go to are going to be starting remote, and they could not work out the teaching schedule with being home to take care of their kids. So it's not only about the concerns about health, although we certainly had some of those. It's also about, family members and their children as well. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but we've had about 10 folks. That's 10 folks across our teaching in Henniker and Manchester, though.
Additionally, there's some staff members who have applied for the same. We are also requiring those people who are not essential to work from home and come into the office as infrequently as possible to mitigate risk. We've had a handful of staff apply and advocate for being allowed to work from home because of either their health or family members' health. And provided they can document it, we allow it.
So I have a comment that somebody messaged in, and this is more on the whole mask thing again. The school is doing all that they can. They've even had Hope the town required a mask ordinance. I hope the selectmen hear this and know they are very disappointed and concerned, and this is from a Henniker resident. Scott also messaged me, and because he's not able to talk, and he would like me to put out there, the ordinance will take pressure off of businesses and possibly off the campus living areas as well by passing the ordinance. He's hoping, depending on enforcement, because I know there's some questions on enforcement, utilizing deputy health officers and health officers is what he is saying.
Yeah, and if we were to move forward with an ordinance, we would be working with Joe, the police department, fire and rescue, and to try to identify those individuals. But the whole goal is, if this ordinance were to pass, we would hope that, enforcement would be very light because people would, respect it and do what they need to do to make sure that all of us stay healthy during this time. It is an unprecedented time, and we haven't seen anything like this in our lifetime. So taking every precaution humanly possible at this point, I think, is imperative.
Great. I have a question coming in from Facebook asking, will students be allowed to go home for the weekend? If so, how is this going to be policed when they come back?
Students will have to seek permission to go home on a weekend. It will have to be for some sort of extraordinary reason. But generally speaking, no. We've been very clear up front. We expect students to stay on campus. We're going to keep them busy with lots of fun things to do. But no, this will not be a suitcase college for this term. And our goal is to be very clear that to be safe, we have to do our best to create a bubble around our campus. And that means folks not going away and coming back as much as possible.
Now, there's a question, I'm assuming this may have to do somewhat with the mask ordinance and then somewhat with NEC's mask ordinance also on campus, about outdoors, activities outside of the downtown that are frequented by students, Pat's Peak, Harvester, Mobile. How are we, obviously you can't police masks outside of your campus without the mask ordinance.
Right.
And what is the mask requirements for the school?
Students will wear. Go ahead, Michelle.
You have to wear masks in all outdoor and campus, classroom, dining hall, and other building facilities. You don't have to wear it in your dorm room.
The dorm room and the restroom are the only place you don't have to wear them.
All right. How many students are you expecting to have attend this semester?
All in, I think we have a little over 1,100 and a few hundred in Manchester and the rest in Henniker. So a little less than 1,000.
Michelle, will you have students coming back and forth from that Manchester campus to Henniker and so on, especially with Manchester's numbers?
I don't know there's much of that going on, Wayne.
Okay.
Wayne?
No, I don't think so, no.
And then Wayne, can you talk a little bit about how you're going to be quarantining students in the event you do have positive tests?
Yep, so we have two categories of quarantine spaces. Basically, these are residence halls we've taken offline. We've had a member of the National Guard who's working on COVID come over and inspect these facilities. Primarily, it's interesting, you learn a lot. The number one criteria is airflow. And so they came over and they approved, we had an initial building we thought would work. They told us it wouldn't, so we changed. So we have two buildings. We have a total of 51 beds available for quarantine purposes. We separate them into two. Those who have a positive test who live more than 3 hours away and can't get home immediately, we'll house them. The other beds are reserved for folks who have had exposure, but we are awaiting a test result. And so we want to keep them separate from the positives, obviously, until we get a result. And then again, once a student tests positive, if they live within 3 hours, they know they need to make plans to return home. And we'll help facilitate that with them. If they live more than 3 hours away, we'll house them until they have the opportunity to get home. We certainly don't want to put somebody with a positive case on an airplane or something like that. That would not be wise. We'll communicate all positive cases as we are obligated to do to the state. We'll coordinate that with the chief of police, fire chief, and Steph Costello. Make sure that all the folks, emergency services folks are aware. They'll know the locations. They'll have all that information. And we certainly would cooperate and work with the town on making sure the town was aware as well.
And let me just follow up on that, Wayne. During the governor's press conference yesterday, they did explain how the reporting structure will go for colleges and universities. If college students were to test positive, those positive cases would be reported in the total overall number for Henniker and not isolated out like they've done with assisted living facilities.
And Tia, to be clear, that's not just for NEC and Henniker, that's for any college town,
Any college or university, yep.
And this is a question for the board again. Is the board going to revisit the mask ordinance?
I would hope that the board would revisit the mask ordinance, and I know for one, and I believe Scott, are ready to have another conversation.
I've answered all the questions I've received through email that I've seen on Facebook so far, and I think we got to everyone that's been in the chat so far. Is there any further questions or any comments from the board or from NEC before we can start wrapping this up?
Just speaking for myself and for the college, to the extent that I do, thank you all for this opportunity. We very much appreciate it. We'll certainly happy to come back and talk to the folks in town as needed, and certainly after we get open and we're underway, certainly happy to talk about how things are going and share our experiences. And if we can be of any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
And if I can follow up, yes, I want to thank you for this really great conversation, great questions. And we look forward to a successful fall semester. It's really important. Just FYI, I was interviewed by the Concord Monitor yesterday. I'm not sure when the article's coming out, but there will be an article coming out with photos shortly about our opening. Pretty much what I said to the reporters, what you heard here this evening.
Just real quickly, I did have one last question come in. Just will ask it real quickly. Do you have a benchmark on positive cases that would send the college back into remote learning?
Yes, put it in the context of the only certainty in this world is uncertainty, and sometimes you have to make decisions quickly that you don't really that you didn't plan on making. as we mentioned, we have capacity for 51 beds in quarantine, and that would be, there will be many more students probably testing positive, because if you're less than 3 hours away, we send you home. I think that it depends on how quickly that would happen, how many cases are true COVID cases versus waiting for test result cases. And certainly if we had a rapid influx of cases, we would meet senior administration to make a decision. So I think basically the system we have set up is prepared to help people who start to become sick. And certainly we monitor we'll monitor every hour, every day, and make decisions if necessary. But basically, if we had more than 50 people being quarantined, that would be it, but we'd probably make a decision before then.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, that question is still coming in. They're talking about a connection being made between NEC and private property owners of the multi-units to help manage any of the private housing units. That's something I believe Wayne and I are going to be working on to try to deal with that, so I can answer that question for you. So, does any of these selectmen have any closing comments they'd like to state?
I would like to just thank the college administration for being open to these conversations and the dialogue. I think it's beneficial for our community to understand what the college is doing, so we can also assist in supporting you and welcoming our students, because they are hopefully here for 4 years, and to have them engage in our community in a positive way, assist the school, but also assist us in building those long-time relationships.
Chris,
Thank
do you have
you.
anything? Chris?
No, sorry, I had to take that phone call. I've been waiting for that one for 2 days. So I don't really know what the question was.
Just any closing comments that you'd like to put out there to everybody?
No, again, I'll just echo what I started with. I've reviewed the Pilgrim Promise at length. I think Dr. Wayne Lesperance and President Perkins have done a fantastic job with getting New England College reopened to the incoming students. They've put a rich resource on their front page with the Pilgrim Pledge, FAQ sheets, and I think it really addresses all aspects of what the town is looking for, as well as the community that it serves as well. So I'm very pleased with what is being proposed, and I think it's going to achieve the bubble that they're looking for, and I wish them luck and success.
Thank you.
Mr. Flynn, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I just wanted to thank President Michelle and Dr. Lesperance for their time tonight in providing this very useful information. Some of the questions that were asked, I certainly in my own mind was thinking the same thing, and I got the answer, so I thank them for that. That's pretty much all I have to say. I look forward to the successful beginning of the first semester, and also looking forward to the student body and the college and faculty and so forth helping to continue to contribute to the prosperity of Hanukkah. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Leon, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, as some of you know, I've been an advocate for a long time for good relationships between the town and the college. One of the things that we see in the businesses I work with is that there are some really unanticipated consequences of this whole pandemic panic. And in a lot of cases, there are positive things happening. Businesses that deal with landscaping, for example, people staying home in the panic we've been through, look out, and, hey, let's call a landscaper. There's all kinds of examples like that. And I was just thinking that what we've had these last couple of meetings have been, again, unusual events. And I hope that we can keep improving the dialogue, and I really want to see it continue with the college.
Well, thank
Rick?
you. Thank you. You know, it's a wonderful town. It's a wonderful place to have a college, a wonderful place for students to study. We know that over 40% of our graduates stay in New Hampshire for at least the first few years of their after graduation. In-migration is important to the state, and we're happy to be a part of that and happy to be a part of Henniker's success.
Selectman Osgood did text me. He's still having some audio issues. He just wanted to thank everybody as well, and thank you for coming out. So I just wanted to pass that on for him. And I just wanted to thank you as well for coming in, and Wayne for jumping right on board. You've been a great resource for me. We've been working great together, and I look forward to continuing that on. And thank you to all the residents for coming out, and I hope we were able to answer some of the questions for you to get you informed so that you feel a little bit more comfortable with NEC coming back and the students returning.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you again, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.